is existing together in such a way that is life-giving and where everyone is heard and seen, cared for to whatever extent is possible, that's safe for all who enter, and that is a space where you can figure out life honestly and vulnerably and make something of your experience together.
Community is dirty and hands-on, but in a sense is learning to completely surrender daily, but knowing that you have people that are going through the same stuff that you're going through and that you're not alone.
I will define community as someone who is going to hold you accountable and who's going to be there for you no matter what. Sometimes it's hard for us to be that way. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do, is bear one another's burdens. And I just feel like that's true community there, and it's genuine and just loving one another genuinely. And no matter what they go through or what their past looks like, you just have to keep loving them because, I mean, they bear God's image too, just like you do. And so that's why we're called to love one another.
I think I would define community as people who are intentionally investing in each other, people who support each other, who encourage each other, who grieve together, and who celebrate together, and who do life together.
I think community has taken on a few different definitions for me over the years, but I think the thing that's been consistent is the reality of people sharing their lives together and being willing to share more and more of their lives together. So not just saying, okay, well, I'm going to move in to this house, but the willingness to continually reevaluate how can we be sharing more. You know, how can we share more of our money and our time? And I think because of that, out of that, people, I mean, your weaknesses surface, the things that tie you down, they surface, and you just have to deal with the parts of you that you don't usually have to look at when you live an isolated life. And so, I don't know, I think that's how I would probably define it. People willing to do life together and willing to continually see how they could do more of life together.
A community is a group of people who's committed to stick around, who has seen me at my worst and still told me that they love me. Community is also 50-some thousand cups of coffee and a lot of dishes.
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 Dishes. Community, it's a word that we throw around that we think is something that's pretty or something that we want, but really it's like a pile of dirty dishes. Like, you have to deal with people who bring all kinds of baggage and really deal with it. There's no way to live as closely as we do with people and not have their past come up and their present, like their grimy, nasty food, and we help each other realize that we're all kind of gross. So yes, I would define community as dishes.
Yeah, your ugliest self comes out with dishes for whatever reason. I think it's something about cleaning other people's wet food.
I think it reveals that I'm kind of selfish. There's part of it where you have to know yourself and you have to know what you need and how your gifts connect and fit in with everybody else's personalities. But and that's true, but also I think sometimes it's easy when you're in a house like this to use that as a crutch to say, like, no, I need to spend time alone, or no, I need to, I want to watch this movie, or no, like, I'll do dishes tomorrow when I'm awake, or, something like that. Like, it's very easy to just assume some things out of your own selfishness that may not necessarily be true or communicated very well. Communication, that's another thing. It's another thing that community is or should be or needs to be.
It's revealed parts of me that serves selfishly. I've always been a servant, but have never paid attention to my motives. It's helped me realize that I'm beautiful and creative in ways that I never noticed before. I'm a lot more confident now than I was without community.
Sometimes I can just be a sucky person. I think it also reveals to me that I do have a voice and that my opinions do matter. I think I'm coming to an understanding that even though if my opinion kind of hurts somebody's feelings, I'm just gonna have to go with it because this is how I feel and I can't change that. And so yeah, I've just learned that my voice does have power.
My immediate thought is all of the things that you never wanted anyone else to see, and maybe the things that you haven't seen and didn't want to see by yourself. And that is true, that is half of it, for sure. But I think also reveals our innate gifts and what we have to positively contribute as well, and that those two things are usually the flip sides of one coin that is ourself. Definitely reveals how self-focused we are in all of our, various ways, because everybody kind of does that differently, and reveals that even at our worst and even the darkest parts that we do work so hard to hide are lovable, can be loved, even when seen, even when those things hurt people tremendously, that forgiveness can be real and we can stay and stick around for each other, and that we get to be generous with one another on the other side of that stuff. And that's, I think, one of the biggest and definitely my favorite parts about life in community.
It's kind of like everyone is carrying around a mirror, and like you see your worst qualities in everyone else, and sometimes that's the only way we see them. Like, we're unaware that we have these qualities until we're forced to see them in someone else, and you aren't really forced to see them unless you intentionally spend time with people. And so it reveals to me that when I'm upset with someone because I think they're being selfish, that really, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm capable of being just as selfish, if not more. And probably am being in this moment. The thing I'm most mad about that this person is showing me is probably something I'm also doing right now. I think community also reveals that I'm not fooling anyone. It's hard to hide here. And I think people are afraid of that. Like, they're afraid of being found out, but there's like some liberation that comes. And that too, community reveals, like, not only am I accepted and loved for who I am, but it gives me the ability to accept and love people for who they are. Because, like, the same grace is shown toward me, and therefore is equally deserved on other people's behalf.
That I am not vulnerable and that at times I hate it, but it in the end is beneficial for me and everyone I live with.
It reveals your weaknesses, and I think just these delusional thoughts that we create about ourselves, that it's okay that we are this way, and it's okay that we choose the things that we choose no matter what it does to another person. And I think when you live separated, you don't have to deal with the consequences as immediately, and you can just walk away. When you don't have covenantal community, you just have the choice to reevaluate and walk off and be done. And I think that for your house to function when you live communally, you can't just choose that. And so you got to deal with the mess that's in the house, and then eventually you're going to realize that you're causing a good chunk of that mess. And I think that it is just a brilliant way for people to grow past themselves. I mean, it was huge for me.
think Yellow House closing just kind of stirs up a mix of emotions. It's been a beautiful experience that haven't found anywhere else. I think it's sad that it's closing because it's been so instrumental in my life and has forced me to grow in ways that I didn't know that I needed growth in. So to see that closing, it's hard. But I'm excited that we get a chance to fully live out everything that we've been learning, and that Brittany and Sarah get a chance to really live this on their own, things that they've been teaching us. And I think we can do it, especially together. We're all figuring it out together, and I think that's beautiful.
When we found out that Yellow House was going to close, my immediate reaction was, why? And then I was kind of upset because my plans, once again, they weren't going to come to pass as I wanted them to be, which, you know, is actually not that upsetting for someone who can make plans so quickly. But it was still hard because this is the one I thought I wanted. I am grateful for leadership who recognize that this is a death but not the end. And then after that, I was kind of excited because it's like, well, shoot, now we get to do lots of other things. And so kind of this anticipation of what are we going to do after Yellow House? And what is that going to look like? And it was hard, but I'm just grateful for people who are faithful to their belief when God is asking them to do something hard. Like close the program they worked 6 years to build. Or longer, I don't know how many years it was.
I feel confident that it's time, or confident in the decision that we've made. There's grief, because I don't think it had to be time. And I feel this weird mix of responsibility and agency in the conclusion that we've come to, and like there were circumstances and tensions and things very much not in our control that were imposed that required this decision of us. But in all of that, confident and therefore with a level of peace. I trust that all the fruit that has come remains in the world and in you people and in me and in us, and will continue to grow and be shared and grow more fruit. I trust that all that we've learned and the stories and the life that has come from this place is not done, is not over, will in a variety of ways continue to grow and hopefully grace the world, in Shreveport and Highland specifically. I'm tired. And therefore there's a tiny, well, there's a level of relief, but a very real level of grief, because this wasn't expected right now. There was a vision much longer than this moment that I don't think is in any way cut off. It just is going to look different than we thought it was. So yeah, really mixed. Excited to celebrate and excited to see what takes shape next. And the road has always risen to meet us, as the Irish blessing would ask for. And I don't know how it's going to do that this time, but we've never known until it actually happens. And so I have no reason to doubt that will come.
It was kind of upsetting to hear that the Yellow House is closing, but knowing that our directors had a peace about it, and that peace comes from the Lord, and that's like, I mean, if they have a peace about it, then you know it's from the Lord, and that, yeah, it's hard to hear, but they know that this is the next step for them to do, and it is really sad and upsetting, but I think that it'll be good because then we'll get to continue this, what they're trying to do at the Yellow House, outside of Yellow House. And it'll be cool to see like how it's going to look and how we're going to all still maintain this community around us. So it's sad, but it's exciting.
I'm very sad. It's bittersweet. I definitely think that Yellow House has been great for people who have come here and have moved on, and I definitely view this experience as a stepping stone for what God has next for me. And it is sad that that this won't be what it has been to past interns.
Well, when I first heard the news, I was actually kind of excited, which sounds terrible and bad, but also like I was in a spot where I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay for another year of internship, just because it was so like structured and rigid and like locked into this, formal structure of like you have to, every day from 1 to 5:30, and then how do you organize a life around that? And yes, like absolutely, like I think I still could have grown and I still could have experienced a bunch of really good things, but there were just a lot of things about it that, like I was 95% sure I was going to come back. So I was at a point where I wasn't sure if I was willing to commit to a second year of internship. But then when we heard the news, pretty much all of those barriers just kind of fell away, and it made me like excited, which was weird because the rest of the room was sad. The rest of the room was very sad. But at the same time, like I recognized that I think I'm mostly sad for Brittany and for Sarah and for everyone who's been such a huge part of creating and developing the Yellow House, because they've put so much work into it. And not that like it's done forever, and not that it's meaningless because it's not happening anymore, but like I understand having a vision and having a dream and then having to give that up, I think is hard. But the reason I'm so excited about it is because like now we do get to figure out like, normal people living real adult lives, like what does it look like to put all of these things into practice, and how do we develop that same level of intensity and community even when we're not sharing the same space, and even when we're not like doing the same internship or whatever. Like I think that's what makes me excited about the future.
I have lots of feelings about Yellow House closing. I am sad. In some ways I'm excited. I'm scared. And I think, you grow so much between 21 and 29, and most of my years in that range have been in this house. And so in a lot of ways I feel like a big chunk of who have been in the ways that we've shared and grown, or finding an end to at least this version of the chapter. We moved into the neighborhood to live communally, and I do think that some of that personally got lost when we began spending all of our energy teaching community. We want to be community members, and we want to be practicing what we've been preaching, and I'm excited about what that will look like. I think the only way I've really known how to live out some of the things that we think are important is to be employed to do so, and so I'm worried to see what it looks like to not be employed to do so. I'm a little nervous, but mostly excited, I think. It's a vulnerable thing though. You're depending on other people. When you say you want to live life together, when you say you want to do intentional community together, you're depending on other people to want that as much as you. And so it's sort of like starting a relationship where you're like, Do you want to share food? Do you want to share a table? Do you want to hang out on the porch and, pray together and take care of kids together and share needs and things like that? And it's vulnerable work, and so I think it's always scary when you're vulnerable and when you don't know what it's going to look like. I will miss this house.
We moved into a house we could not afford and dropped all baggage down the top nail-ridden boards. We thought it'd be easy, we thought it'd be fast, we thought gray loneliness was a thing of the past. We would rise in the spring, crash in the fall as our impulsive nature made fools of us all. But it got us to leap, oh, it taught us to fly, and we prayed as we bled to end on the other side. We waited, oh, how we waited, oh, how we waited. You came at the end of a rope that we didn't even know we were on. You gave us the courage to fight that we didn't even know was the one. You paid our debt. We have no regret from jumping because you gave us family.
I think it's changed me in a way of really understanding what it looks like to be in a true, genuine community, and that we do need one another. And isn't it Mother Teresa who says, like, we all belong to one another? So, like, I never truly understood that until here, because it's true. We all belong to one another. We all need one another. The Lord said that we're not created to be alone, so therefore we need one another and community. And I just think also, like, I don't know, this is a tangent, but like the body of Christ is such a beautiful aspect of, like, yeah, we each need one another, and we all have different things that we do in order to, like, help one another out. And so I just feel like it's just shown me true community and what it means to be open and know that someone is still going to be there for you no matter what you say or what you do, but that community is going to surround you with love and just try to help you out the best that we can. And so that's what I think the Yellow House has.
I am simultaneously an entirely different person than I was 8 years ago, and entirely more myself than I ever was. I am more alive and less anxious. I am, in being more alive, less depressed. I am happier, even though happy I don't think I ever saw as a goal or something that I needed to be, but I'm aware, even just in recent months, that is the case. I'm more hopeful. I understand and hope to embody freedom more than I ever did before. I am less afraid. I am more confident. I can have a real-time conversation with you like this right now, when prior to all this, I don't think I could have done that, or at least not without an immense amount of anxiety surrounding that. I feel still at times totally out of control, but far more so in control of my mind and my compulsions and the things that hurt people and hurt me. I feel smoother around the edges, more balanced in sensitivity, so not desensitized to pain or other people's feelings what's going on in the world, my relationships, not at all desensitized, but also not overly sensitive, like I could have easily been described as it at some point, and so able to engage in healthy relationship. I feel able to handle healthy conflict more often than not. I'm not afraid of conflict. I'm not unbearably afraid of people leaving or relationships ending or just changing forever like I used to be. I'm able to contribute more fully, whether that's my music or art or thoughts or conversation or time or self, and more able to balance when to give and when to rest, when to be with and when to retreat to recharge.
Some people would say they came to Yellow House to save the neighborhood. I think from the very beginning, I came to Yellow House to save myself. I had just about given up on God, but there was this small piece of me that's like, there's too many experiences, there's too many things in this world that like I can't say there isn't a God. And without knowing very much, I applied to this internship 4 months late. I mean, I remember bargaining and being like, okay, God, here's your last chance. Like, if these people believe what Jesus said was true, then I'll stick around and I'll do this Christianity thing. I think I would be in a very dark and lonely place if I hadn't been at Yellow House. I think for the first time I can really trust people. To be there after you expose the deepest parts of yourself, because it's happened, right? I've watched people serve each other in some radically selfless ways that I didn't think people were possible or capable of doing. I think I care way more about others. I care much more about being faithful to the things that God calls us to be faithful to, and confident that I have avenues to walk down that will allow me to live out a faithful life.
I feel like I've grown up here, you know? I feel like Yellow House exposed my insensitivities to people with different personalities than mine. I feel like it exposed my need for people to be in need for me to be a good person. I feel like it exposed my disbelief in Grace's power, and then I think it helped to heal all of those things through people, you know. And it also taught me that my relationship with God and my relationship with people are not these two different things, you know. I see God through people. God teaches me about God through people. God teaches me about me through people, you know. And so it's not just this, well, I have this personal relationship with God and then I love people because God told me to love people, you know. But instead, these are all, we get saved over and over and over again throughout the day and throughout our lives because of God and people working together with us. And I think there was, I could not see that, I think, before here. And, you know, I think I was just so thankful to find out that there were different ways for me to live a faithful life and to live out my faith than just to show up at church. And I mean, even though, you know, connecting in a consistent way with the larger body is, I think, a very valuable thing, but there was this relief in knowing that there were other practical ways for me to be like, yes, I believe in Jesus, and I believe that the church brings good news to the world, and that can look like recycling and taking care of the earth and sharing our money and learning how to speak in ways that do not ostracize people groups, and making time to be still and eating around a table together. And this was good news to me, that all of life could be faithful and not just these three things, these three Sunday school answers of how to be a Christian.
I don't know if this is one word or two words, but self-awareness. I was this self-absorbed, naive little girl who thought that she wanted to basically live life on the edge and live with all these people. I guess Yellow House has changed me in the sense of it's not all about me. Like when you live in a community and you live with other people who have different needs and different personalities, I mean, a lot of things come into play.
I think like the Yellow House has done a lot to remind me of the things that I once knew were true, and reaffirm all of the things that are beautiful and good about God and about His plan for the world, without all of the shit that comes along with it. I'm sorry, I have to say it. The Yellow House has kind of untwisted me and remolded me into the person that I think I was meant to be all along, the person that I forgot. How has it changed me I think it's given me new life, and it's given me a real active and living version of the faith in a community whose faith is in the same Creator as mine, and who are covered in the same grace and the same love, and who are working to practice that regardless of some beliefs, I think. Because I think on the one hand there's so much of the program and the experience, just the idea of being part of an intentional community that I've gotten to experience before. So on one level, I could say, none of this has been new. But on the other hand, I think I've experienced it in such a new way, in such a life-giving way, considering my journey. And I think here has been one of the realest ways that I've seen people really love me in my darkest moments and have chosen to stick by me even when they probably shouldn't. And I think that's been one of the realest expressions of God's love that I've seen, which has been awesome.
Yellow House has changed me in the sense that I'm more aware of myself now. Aware that I'm beautiful but also broken. I never really grieved when my mom passed through the valley of the shadow. And that's okay. I have a group of people around me now that's willing to sit with me and listen to me hash out all of the lies that I've been told over the last 9 years. A group who listens whenever I just need someone to listen, and cries with me even though I cry over it all, over and over. They're not bothered by that. And that's the first time I've found a group who is willing to just listen to me hash it out over and over and not try to fix it in the moment. But when it's time, we'll come back and just breathe truth into me, and to try and replace all the lies that I've been told. That over and over I was told that I should be okay by now. I was taught that it was wrong to continue grieving after a certain time, but it's not. There's no time limit on that. And that's been the best thing the house has brought me.
And I wasn't a part of the Yellow House, my life would just kind of suck, right? Because, like, it's crazy how the Lord has placed us all here, and how, like, the first 2 weeks you automatically became a family. Like, that's crazy, and, like, that's awesome. And I'm just so thankful for all of my housemates, even though some days are hard. Some days aren't all peaches and cream, I'll tell you that much in community. So there's that. That's a truth nugget. But I think those days, if there's not failure, there's no growth, right? So I feel like it has to come with community. That's what you get. And so, yeah, I just want to say that I'm thankful for my group, awesome housemates. I don't want to call them housemates, my family, because that's what they are. And I'm thankful for the directors who have just walked beside us and who have mentored us throughout this experience, and just for everyone else who's just supported the Yellow House and everything that it means. Because I know, like, this season of my life, I'm going to look back on this and be like, I'm thankful that I did that, because there was growth from it, and I made this new family who I knew that we're just gonna, love each other no matter what.
Life is a different thing now that I genuinely want to wake up and enter, and that I am genuinely and almost constantly grateful for. There were times where the preferable option would have been, like, not being in all of this, not being, and I mean life, like, that there was a preferential option to being alive, and that it's not like that anymore. I am here, and I am glad to be here for as long as I will be allowed to be here, and grateful to get to live that, and live that with the people that we're living with.
Yellow House is not the first time I've ever seen Christ, but it is definitely the most powerful way I've seen Christ. And you can't encounter the divine without being changed. Hopefully in some good ways.
I think that this has been one of the greatest adventures I've gotten to be a part of.
We laid beds of stone and put our hands in the dirt as we asked the body to reflect the good of the earth. We were stripped paper thin as we warred for desire, but we know what God does when God uses fire. And we waited, oh how we waited, oh how we waited. You came at the end of a rope that we didn't even know we were on. You gave us the courage to fight that we didn't even know was long gone. You paid our debt. We have no regret from jumping because you gave us family.
Well, that is a good question. What's next? Well, hopefully I'll live in an apartment. Lee Hardware, maybe. I don't know. But I've been applying to jobs, so we'll see what's next. But I'm not quite sure, but I know that I'm staying here. So that's good to know. And I feel at peace about it, so that's also good. But we'll just see what's next. We're just going. We're gonna go with the flow.
Hey, is that funny to you? That's a little bit of a panic, like, hey, I don't know. No, no, only in certain moments is there panic in response to that question. Next, in terms of, like, literal employment, I don't know. But next, in terms of life and work, I'm excited. We will continue meeting as we can and finding out the new shape a lot of our togetherness will take in the new season. I will be making music. and recording it, and God willing, sharing it with the world. Finally, I will be getting married and having a partner in a new way, a new covenant to learn and explore and live in. And we will be definitely, and I'm excited about this, finding ways to share these stories and write and package and make available the resources that have surfaced or developed or been created in this space, because I just believe more than ever that there's some real valuable stuff here that I think can enrich people's lives, and that I think the church would benefit from, and so we're going to figure out how to create and cultivate those and share those with folks who can benefit from. And I'm going to get my cat declawed. That's also next.
Whew, Lord. Okay. I don't know. I took a job at Common Ground and with the city to do some garden work. So what's next, hopefully, is to be able to establish some garden foundation and really start working toward my version of creation care, which is caring for the plot that Shreveport is and trying to encourage local economy and growth from here. Yeah, and I also hope that I can continue to be as strongly invested in this community as I am now, and knowing that that's going to look much different from what it looks like now.
Life, I guess. Moving into a new house, working this summer, and then trying to find a full job after that. We'll see.
I know that I wanted to be a teacher because that's kind of where my heart was going for a long time, to school for it and everything, but I don't know, it's kind of been spoken over me for such a long time that I'm going to go where people don't want to go. And I guess I'm learning now to accept that, even though it may be scary as all get out. But I definitely think that whatever is next, that the Lord's going to be there with me, and He's going to give me guidance and discernment. I'm just excited.
What is next? I don't know. A job. For me personally, a job. I'm looking for a job that's incorporates both nonprofit work, because I think that's the experience that I've had the most of. More writing, because I love to write. I think what I hope is next for our community is continuing to meet for morning prayer, and out of that, being willing to share life together, at least through morning prayer, and then being willing to ask consistently, periodically, how can we share more of life together? And then I just hope that we will be faithful in exploring what that looks like in this next step. I hope that looks like covenanted community on some level, and practicing the things that we have grown to value and think are important, and doing that together, and finding and creating ways to do that together. So basically a big question mark with lots of hopes.
Life is next.
Goodbye, Yellow House. Hello, life.
And we march on to the
but not.